All right, so let's take it back to the 90s real quickly. Do you guys know who the #2 appliance and electronics store was in 1999? All right, good job, this guy, Circuit City. Do you guys remember Circuit City? So Circuit City opened in 1949, and it originally only sold televisions. And then later it expanded to sell appliances, electronics, and it was wildly successful. In 1999, they actually sold or earned $1.6 billion in revenue. That's billion with a B. And then something went wrong. In the early 2000s, things started to go south for the big box retailer. It wanted to save on warehouse storage and delivery costs, so it actually exited the big appliance business. And this was in the early 2000s when there was a rise in housing residential sales, which also meant a rise in appliance sales, so they missed the boat on that one. They announced plans to lay off their highest paid hourly employees and replace them with lower paid, less skilled salespeople. So these higher paid employees were their most skillful salespeople. And that same year, the CEO took in some $7 million in compensation. So in 2008, they filed for bankruptcy. In 2009, they shut their doors. But here's an interesting little tidbit. In 2008, this company actually put in a $1 billion bid to purchase Circuit City, but then later withdrew it due to market conditions. But since we're on the topic of Blockbuster, Blockbuster actually sat atop the video rental industry. It had millions of customers, thousands of retail locations, it had a massive marketing budget, and efficient operations. It dominated the competition. But Blockbuster had a weakness in its model. It actually earned a great amount of its revenue based off of charging its customers late fees. So a huge component of its revenue model was based on penalizing their patrons. So when things started to go south for Blockbuster, the CEO tried to change things around. The rest of his board was not having it, because all they saw with these changes were short-term cuts to their profits as opposed to long-term gains. So Blockbuster eventually filed for bankruptcy as well. The list of big companies that have failed go on and on. So my question became, the more I dug into this research, my question became, how is it that these once massive companies that brought in millions and billions of dollars in revenue, how is it that they managed to screw everything up? See, a lot of people like to blame the bad economy or decreased spending. Others look to companies like Amazon and Netflix coming in and taking over the competition. But see, that's not what did these companies in. No, there was something else at play here, something bigger. The real culprit? Complacency, failure to adapt, and all-around bad decision-making from their leadership. Those were the fatal mistakes that these companies made in highly competitive and fast-evolving industries. You see, Circuit City saw Amazon on the horizon coming in with their beautiful digital storefronts, and yet they did nothing to improve their user experience online or fix their website. Netflix actually approached Blockbuster wanting to handle their digital video delivery service component, and again, Blockbuster was just not having it. They turned a blind eye. So these companies made bad decisions, and that's why they suffered the fate that they did. So why am I standing here performing these business autopsies for you guys? Well, it's because today I want to share with you how and why it is imperative for us lawyers, law firm owners, and business owners to not only understand the changes that are upon us in the legal profession, but to embrace them and adapt if we wish to thrive and not become like one of these companies. And a big part of the changes that are upon us in the legal profession are here in due part to the millennials. So understanding what makes millennials want to hire you as a lawyer and what makes millennial employees and associates want to continue working for you is what I'm here to share with you guys today. So allow me to introduce you to your next client, the millennial. So a quick millennial profile. Millennials are anyone born between 1980 and 2000, roughly. They are diverse, they're digital natives, and they are connected and plugged in. We are 92 million strong in the US, according to Goldman Sachs, and we are the biggest generation to be living right now. We've surpassed the baby boomers. We're the biggest generation in the workforce. And our estimated spending power by 2020 is going to be $1.4 trillion. Okay, so that's important to know where this money is going and how you're going to capture a share of that. So I borrowed this graph from my friend, Dr. Nicole Abboud. She works over at Avvo, and she is a brilliant researcher. And I thought it was interesting to see where or what millennials are actually hiring lawyers for, right? So for those who are in traffic, maybe work with DOIs, you're looking good. You're going to attract some millennial clients. Estate planning, you can see a little bit lower on the other end, immigration. So you can kind of see where the money is being dispersed here. But when I thought about what it is that you need to know to attract millennial clients, I broke it down into 3 main things that you should really understand. So what do you need to know about millennial clients in order to actually get them to hire you? And actually, I'm grateful to Jack Newton this morning. He covered a lot of, or he touched upon a lot of the ideas that I'm going to share with you today. So hopefully this is just reiterating it for you and driving it home to understand the importance of being online. So the first thing you should know is that millennial clients are going to Google you, right? So we saw in the graph that Jack shared this morning that for the most part, referrals are going to come from friends, family members, others who have used an attorney, and they're going to refer their attorney to you if a client is in the market for hiring. But if you think about it, as soon as someone gets a referral from a friend, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to turn to Google. They're going to look into who this lawyer is that my friend just gave me this reference for. So they are going to Google you. So it's important for you to not only be present online, so to have a website and show up when you're Googled, but to also be on social media. So it is no longer a negotiable, you guys. So I know social media used to be something that some lawyers did, but now social media is another place that millennials are going to look you up, to see if you are existent, if you are on social media, any of the platforms, pick one, it doesn't matter. And if you're engaged, right? So are you active? Are you posting? Are you sharing valuable information? Are you engaging with clients who are asking you questions or looking for information? Are you appearing as someone who is trustworthy based on maybe other reviews by other clients? So investing in Google reviews, Avvo reviews, maybe even Facebook reviews. So just having some kind of presence online is definitely something that millennial clients are attracted to because they want to know that you exist beyond just this reference or beyond just, if they're looking for a lawyer they want to hire. Something else you need to know about millennial clients, they are willing to hire you if the fixed fee is right. So it's not a secret that lawyers have a lot to compete with, right? So obviously not Google, that's a joke, but not really, right? So a lot of people do turn to Google to find their information first. A lot of millennials feel like they can really get a good grasp of what their issue is and maybe even work through it themselves, which maybe they're mistaken, if they just Google the legal issue that they're having. But aside from Google, we're also competing with other legal service delivery companies, right? So the billable hour is actually going to become something of the past in the future. And rightfully so, because clients are pushing back against the billable hour. Millennials have an aversion to anything that's hourly based. So if you can adopt any kind of fixed fee, alternative fee arrangement, that is going to be attractive to the millennial client because they want to know what they're getting ahead of time. So giving them an amount that you charge per hour and not telling them exactly how long it's going to take, that's not going to sit well with them, and they're going to go find someone who is going to be a little bit more forward and be able to give them an estimated time of how long a project's going to take. Third thing to know, they value customer service and collaboration with their attorneys. So this is something that, for those of you who have Clio, this is going to be great, right? So in terms of customer service, it's important to pay attention to how you're treating these clients from the moment they first interact with you, so the moment they see you online or have some interaction with you initially, to the moment you close the case. And you need to roll out the red carpet for your clients. You need to make sure that you are available 24/7. So either actually be available, which is almost impossible 24/7, or have some aspect of your brand that's available to them. So having an online client portal where they can log in, get information about their documents, information about their case, where they can just do it themselves. And millennial clients want to collaborate with their attorneys. Again, because we have access to so much information at our fingertips, we feel like we're more empowered. We don't want to just pass on a case to you as our lawyer and then not hear from you until we have to show up in court, right? We want to know what's going on. So keeping your millennial clients updated on where they are in the process by allowing them to access their documents, information about their matter at all times, that's going to be attractive for millennial clients. So I actually turned to some of my friends and did some research on Facebook and wanted to see how they were dealing and interacting and communicating with millennial clients. So a lot of words there, you don't have to read all of those, but I posed the question, how do you communicate with millennial clients? What's the preferred method? And Joey said that he's found that his millennial clients aren't very demanding, right? So however they tell him they want to be contacted, that's what he does. But I want to point you to my friend Mitch Jackson, who's sitting in the front seat, to what his response was, because he is oh so wise, and he said, just ask them how they want to be communicated with, and that's how you do it. If they want to be get contacted through text, text them. If they want emails, email them. If they want you to actually pick up the phone and call them, then do that, right? It's not going to be the same for every millennial client, but just ask them how they want to be reached. So that's the collaboration and the customer service that you're imparting and that you're incorporating into your practice. My other friend, Tamara, had quite a different experience. I'll sum up what she said, but basically she tried reaching one of her millennial clients in every way she could think of, and she finally, to show up for a deposition, and she finally sent him a text, I think the night before, and that's how he got it, even though she tried emailing, mailing, calling, everything. So for this guy, a text is what worked. So it's important to know what your client wants and meet them there. To recap, website no longer a brochure, so your website needs to be interactive, it needs to look nice, it needs to have components that your client can actually use, not a brochure. Your law firm office hours are no longer just 9 to 5, right? So that doesn't mean you have to be available all the time, but maybe there's a chat bot that can take over when you're not available. Or again, there's an online portal or some way they can interact with your brand when you're not available. Law is a buyer's market. This is important to know, you guys. We're no longer just competing with other lawyers. Lawyers are competing with other legal service delivery companies, the LegalZooms of the world. So you need to be able to adapt and be competitive. Also, millennial clients will not tolerate expensive inefficiencies. Again, the billable hour might not work anymore. And the entire firm and services must be tech-enabled. Okay, so having a website that looks good on mobile, because that's where most people are going to look you up anyways, that's important. But what about the millennials that you're actually hiring? So how many law firm owners are here, or those who are in positions to hire? Okay, good, so quite a few. And I don't know if you've had experience hiring the new generation of lawyers. Maybe you've noticed that there's a little bit of a difference in the way that they approach the law. I should stop saying they. We approach the law. So what's important to know when you're hiring these millennials? And why should you care even to know these things? Well, we are the largest generation in the workforce. We are taking over. That's definitely important to know. Succession planning. You are not going to work forever, so you're going to pass on your firm, hopefully, pass on your legacy to someone else. More than likely, it's going to be the millennials who you're hiring now. There's loads of talent among the millennials. We grew up, again, very plugged in, digital natives. We have a lot of marketable skills that we're coming into the firm with, so you need to tap into that. And of course, happy employees means happy clients, which means more money. Everyone's happy all around. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're meeting these millennial employees where they're at right now. So where are they? What do you need to know about them? It's important to keep in mind a few things when you're hiring these millennials. They are going through various, changes and just huge moments in their lives, so it's important to keep that in mind. So some of the big ones are they're buying their first homes, they are getting married, they're having kids. So these are all things that not only you should be aware of, but you should really adjust your law firm for that. And we'll talk about how you're going to do that. But the three things, I narrowed this down to three things that millennial employees are looking for when they're applying for a firm, or what you should keep in mind when you're hiring these millennial employees. Top three things: you need to be flexible. You need to give feedback pretty often. And growth and development is something that is of the utmost importance for us as millennial employees. And I'd like to note that these are actually things that apply to any generation, but we're trying to narrow it down to just millennials right now. But as a law firm owner, this applies to anyone, any employee that you have. So let's talk about each one a little bit further. Flexibility, what is it that we value? Because of technology, we are no longer forced to stay at our desks or in our offices 24/7 or from 8 to 7 p.m. to get the work done, right? We can send emails when we're standing in line to grab a coffee at Starbucks. We can respond to client calls. We can draft motions from our home and still communicate with others in the law firm if that's what we need to do. So being flexible in the schedules that you're offering your employees is important, and offering opportunities to work from home, some kind of flex schedule, that's going to be highly attractive. Because forcing an employee to have to stay in the office every day might not necessarily last very long, or that employee might not last that long with that kind of schedule. Feedback. So a lot of firms offer just annual reviews, and that is not enough for millennials. We want feedback, and we want it more often than just once or twice a year. We want to know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, so we can improve upon it. So having giving constant feedback, whether it's official and you're actually sitting down and giving this feedback, or just popping into their office every once in a while and telling them how they did on a matter, whether it's good or bad, right? So constructive criticism is good as well. But we want that constant acknowledgement, and we want to hear from our employers or supervisors and see how we're doing so we can adjust. We don't want to go a whole year doing something incorrectly until we're finally corrected at our annual review. Okay, so we want to feel like we're heard constantly throughout the year, throughout our relationship with our employer. And finally, we look for opportunities for growth at the firms that we're looking for. So offering strong training and ample development opportunities like CLEs, conferences, events within the firm, right? Bringing in speakers, anything that's going to help us develop as individuals, that's really important to us. Verbalizing and promoting law firm mission and culture, that's also very important. So millennials are very attracted to companies that verbalize their why, right? So their mission, what it is that they're doing to make an impact in the community, what vision and purpose they have to even exist, that's something we're attracted to. So if we understand the why of the firm we're working for, we're willing to withstand the small inconveniences, or if we're having a bad day, we're willing to put up with that because we understand we're all working towards a collective purpose together. So I want to see how firms were actually implementing this culture, what kind of culture they were building at their firms. So I also, again, turned to Facebook, where I do most of my research, and I asked a group of female lady lawyers, Facebook group, and I asked them how they're building their culture. So all I asked was, what are you doing to build a culture, if anything? How are you keeping your employees engaged? And Chelsea down there said, my firm's culture is compassion. So she wrote a brief statement of her culture. She includes it. She gives it to all employees to read, and she makes sure that they're constantly in touch with this compassionate nature that she wants to build within her firm. Others said that, so Karen at the top said, our culture is to provide excellent customer service and have fun or in spite of work. Have fun at or in spite of work. Lisa also, she just makes sure her culture is very laid back but professional, right? So it's just verbalizing what it is that you want your firm to stand for and making sure all the employees you're hiring, millennial or otherwise, are buying into this, right? Because again, if everyone's working toward a collective purpose, then all the small hurdles along the way won't be so significant anymore, and you'll be able to retain more of these millennial employees, but also employees in general. So that's just pointing it out. Cynthia said, yes, I think it has to do with creating a team of, out of your firm, a tribe. So that's how she builds culture. She just makes sure that everyone feels like they belong, which is really important, and they feel like they're part of a tribe. So like I said, this is not just a millennial issue, right? I realize this presentation is about millennials, but this is something that a lot of employees in general are pushing for, right? They want this more flexibility because of the technology that we have that enables this. They want to be able to feel like they're part of a tribe and they're working together towards a common purpose. So really what it comes down to is how you will respond to these changes that are upon us in the legal profession. Not just the new generation that's coming in, because every generation has its own unique characteristics, but in general, how are law firms going to withstand all the changes that are coming? So everything from virtual law practices to the pushback against the billable hour, right? So all the changes that are upon us, it's important for us as law firm owners, as business owners, to adapt and to embrace them and not turn a blind eye like the companies I listed in the beginning did. So what it comes down to is strong leadership and being able to make the right decisions and having a sight for the future and not just thinking short term. So for now, it's millennials, right? But then it's going to be Gen Z. It's always going to be another generation that's coming in. So how you deal and adapt is what's going to separate you and allow you to survive and to thrive, unlike many of the companies that are listed here that I spoke about a little bit earlier. So what I want to leave you with is this question of how are you going to respond to the new generation that's coming in to your law firm and the new generation of clients who are hiring you, now that you have a little bit of an understanding of what they look for, what they value. So are you going to be one of these companies that fails to adapt, that refuses to innovate, or are you going to be a law firm that survives and embraces this new generation and all the great qualities that they bring? But I want to thank you for your time. And I believe we have some time, so I'd love to take some questions from you guys if you have any questions about millennials, law firms, anything like that. Yes, Patrick. Thank you.